Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's May 2nd. May, the month of plant sales. When I started gardening, I would sail away every Saturday in May with my dear friend Judy. We'd plan our way to a successful sale day, waking up while it was still dark out. Then we'd arrive at the church or the building where the sale was to be held. We'd set up our lawn chairs and we'd pat ourselves on the back for being first and second in line. Then we'd wait another hour or two for the doors to open, all the while sharing our dreams for our gardens, checking our wish lists for the unusual plants we might find at the sale, and figuring out which plants we discovered the previous year that we wanted more of, and which we deemed not worthy of getting again. Here's today's brevities. Today, May 2nd, may be the original April Fool's Day. In Chaucer's The Nun's Priest's Tale, a fox tricks a rooster on a day 32 days after March, which would be May 2nd, but many took it to mean March 32nd or April 1st. Many scholars now think Chaucer actually did mean May 2nd as the foolish day. I guess you could say the joke's on us. And today is the last day of Rez-vän. The Rez-vän festival is a holiday that's celebrated by those of the Baha'i Faith, and it commemorates the 12 days when their prophet resided in a garden outside Baghdad. He called the garden Rez-vän, which translates to paradise. And today is the annual White House Gardens Symposium. This year's symposium highlights the gardens of Beatrix Jones Farrand and Rachel Bunny Lambert Mellon. On this day in 1969, Jimi Hendrix performed at the Cobo Center in Detroit. And it reminded me of a story about a succulent that ended up being named for Hendrix. In 1995, Mark Dodaro was listening to Jimi Hendrix's Voodoo Child while he was on a little botanizing trip in Mexico. And Dodaro thought he saw something about the terrain. He hiked up the mesa, came upon a little plant, a succulent, that he suspected was new. Years later, University of California, Santa Cruz professor Stephen McCabe rediscovered the plant in the same area. In 2016, the plant Dudleya hendrixi was recognized by the California Botanical Society. In Unearthed Words Today, Stonewall Jackson was shot by his own men, and I thought his life story contained many moving passages. In an article in the Washington Post called Stonewall Jackson Had a Soft Side, it was revealed that just before the start of the Civil War, Jackson had developed a love for gardening. If you read any of the biographies on Jackson, you'll learn that his life was one tragedy after another. His father and sister died of typhoid when Jackson was 2. His mother died when he was 7. By the age of 17, he had only one sister left. His first wife died, giving birth to his stillborn son. His first daughter, with his second wife, Anna, died within a month of her birth. After all of this personal loss, Jackson fell in love with gardening. And it was discovered that Jackson once wrote in a school book, "A man of words and not of deeds is like a garden full of weeds." Jackson's gardening Bible was Robert Buist, the family kitchen gardener. And Jackson liked to write little notes in the margins of this book as he worked his way through it. Next to a list that said tomatoes, asparagus, watermelon, spinach, and turnips was a one-word action item, plant. Jackson dearly loved his wife, Anna. In the spring and summer of 1859, she was sick and in New York for treatment. He loved to refer to her with romantic names, and he often wrote about the garden. Here's an example. "I was mistaken about our large garden fruit being peaches. Turns out to be apricots. Just think, my little dove has a tree full of them." That fall, Jackson responded to a request from the governor to help maintain order in Virginia. 4 years later, on this day, in the evening, Jackson and his men were returning from an attack. They were fired on by Confederate soldiers who incorrectly thought Jackson's group was Union soldiers. Jackson was aware of the dangers of friendly fire, and he once suggested that I recommend we should strip ourselves perfectly naked in order to avoid being shot at. Nevertheless, that fateful evening, Jackson, in full uniform, was hit by 2 bullets in his left arm, which was then amputated at nearby Wilderness Tavern. Jackson's chaplain, Beverly Tucker Lacey, was so moved by the event that he personally carried Jackson's arm across the fields to his brother's nearby family home called Elwood. There, behind the herb garden, was a family cemetery. Today, Elwood Cemetery has many Civil War dead, but the most famous interment is the only marked grave in the cemetery. It simply says Stonewall Jackson's left arm. As Jackson tried to recover, General Lee wrote that Stonewall may have, quote, lost his left arm, but I have lost my right. 8 days after being shot, Jackson died of complications from pneumonia. He was 39. His last words were, "Let us cross over the river and rest under the shade of trees." Today's book recommendation is hot off the press, brand new today. It's Didier Decoing's poetic, sensual novel, The Office of Gardens and Ponds. Are you ready to travel back to Japan 1,000 years ago and relive this beautiful fable? An impoverished heroine embarks on a hazardous mountain trek to the Imperial Palace. For today's garden chore, you've put it off long enough. This year, you divide your iris. Iris are doing their thing right now, fighting the tulips for best in show. Iris were once commonly called flags, and while anyone can grow iris, not everyone does right by them. And if you want them to maintain their vigor, vow to divide them late this summer when it starts to cool down. And you can divide them the same way you divide other rhizomatics like dahlias and lily of the valley. Just dig them up, break them apart, wash them in a 10% bleach bath, and replant them so that the rhizome is visible on the surface of the soil. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. On this day in 1987, the Enid A. Haupt Garden was formally dedicated. It took 3 years to complete, and it was named for Haupt after she insisted on funding the entire project with $1.5 million and an equal gift to ensure the continued maintenance of the garden. As the garden was nearing completion, the landscape architect Paul Lindell had prepared for the 81-year-old Haupt to preview it. He said, "We'd arranged for several means of conveyance, including a golf cart like Surrey. Despite the 4 to 6 inches of dust, Mrs. Haupt insisted on walking through the site, dressed to the nines and in her patent leather shoes." Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org. And be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.